What makes a marriage last, what makes a relationship last, is when someone will change. I had a couple in here, I just married them, and they asked me he asked me a great question. And when he asked me that question, I thought, wow, we should do a Q&A. We're going to go maybe 5 minutes long. Is that all right with you guys? Yeah, okay, all right. So, but I want to say this, because this is important. And then share it. Oh, we didn't talk about that? So anyway, so the point being is that when a person,
now the questions get
say
good.
it with me, the marriage will fail when one or both parties refuse to change. That's when the marriage fails. When one or both parties will not change. If you think you're going to get married and you get to stay the same, you're crazy. And I'm not just talking about economically. I'm talking about emotionally. I'm talking about all of the levels of the way that you think and believe. The marriage forces change. The marriage, all of the seasons of life are experienced through marriage. We're in a different season. You have to understand the season of life you're in. I have to change for her. I have to listen to her, and I have to change for her. Oh, I'm not changing for that woman. Start the clock. That your marriage is doomed. I say this to people all the time, and men and women. I was like, if they're willing to change, your marriage will succeed. But if either one of you shuts this down and will not change, it's inevitable. This is inevitable. And that's what happens. You have 5-year challenges, you have 3 to 5 year, you have 7 to 10 year, you have 10 to 15 year. Every season you have these epic challenges to your relationship. And if you will not change, your marriage will not endure. And you can write that down. That's an absolute guarantee. I'm constantly changing. Both of our kids are out of the house. So what does that mean? There's a transformation in our marriage and our relationship. And if you don't invest in your marriage while you're raising your children will leave your house, married couple, and all that's going to be left is you and him. And if you have not built anything between the two of you, it will be exposed in that time. So you kids for us were always on the outside. Mom and dad came first. Kids came second. And this is the idolatry of our culture. We idolize our children. God's not told me to idolize my children. He's told me to raise them in the fear and the admonition of the Lord. He's called me to steward them unto himself. That's what he's called me to do. I'm not to worship my children. And you're like, oh my gosh, were you bad parents? No, not at all. But the thing is that we built a lot of...
Pretty good.
Yeah, well, I don't know. So
those seeds are still in the ground.
But we built a lot between us. And our children are gone, and we're shifting seasons. And we're probably in the greatest season of our life right now. I haven't had this season. You wonder where 32 years ago. Why raise kids for 25? So that was pretty intense, raising children. And so now we're out of that season.
Barely
Both
made
of
our
kids are off on doing their own thing, which is fantastic. They know the Lord. Their choices
Thank you,
are theirs.
Jesus, for bringing me through.
But we're in a different season. So we have to change. We have to change. So you have to change through marriage. So if your relationship, any marriage can succeed if one or both parties will change, if both parties are willing to change. And you're going to have to change. And if you don't, then that's where the relationship will fail. And that's where it won't change. When you have kids, you got to change. You have to find a level of compromise. The two shall become one. You must become one. You have to come into an agreement on how you raise the child. You have to come into an agreement on how we're going to run our household. You have to come into it's a constant tension. It's a constant tension. And we haven't even gotten into roles of males and females yet, but there's always a tension. And I have a lot to say on that, which I'm not going to. So I just want to hand you...
You didn't want me to answer that question?
No, go ahead, because this is the question I was working off of was,
So I would just say with relationships, as he said, with the seasons and prioritizing the time together, your life is going to change after the kids leave, and also developing yourselves. There's no marriage is perfect because it's two imperfect people. This is really designed just that I have companionship through this life. But the one who is the center of everything for me is Jesus. It's always been Jesus. Kevin's a great person to share this life with, and I'm not alone. But he can't be everything to me. He had to release himself from the burden. I had to release him from the burden of being everything to me, and he had to release me from the burden of being everything to him. The only one that I can walk this life out, who has the best answers, who can comfort my heart, who can be the Boaz when I need it to be, or just pick one of the guys in the Bible. There's no such thing as a perfect person. And so I choose to walk this life with him. I choose to share this life. So there's no relationship that cannot heal, that cannot be restored, that cannot be revived, that cannot be rejuvenated. None.